How are you, my favourite people? I just thought I'd look in on you. That's all. 'Cause I've been all over the place, and I'm sure you have as well. But I do miss you. So hello to the usual crew. The Nigel, the Jerrys, the Micks, the Taras, the Jones, and of course the lovely Susan in Yorkshire. I was talking to a guy today, actually. I'm doing an audiobook for him. And he's originally from, Geordie end of things. So what would be that like? Up north. Anyway, trying to think of it. What's the capital of it again? It should come Newcastle, of course, lad. I don't know. Anyway, how's everybody? I hope you're keeping well. I literally just thought I'd pop in. I'm going to talk about nothing in particular, but you're used to that, aren't you? Yes, starting off with the anniversary of the Dublin bombings was very recently, in the last couple of days. And they happened in 1973. And I actually recall bits of it. And I would have been the grand old age of 10 at the time. So not really wanting to revisit the troubles as such, but I will, just because I want to get these memories out. I distinctly remember it was a Friday. It was a Friday afternoon. The bombs went off around between 5 o'clock and 6. There was, I think, 3 in Dublin and one subsequently then around 7 o'clock in Monaghan. So I would have been a schoolboy at the grand old age of 10 years of age. And the first time it started to filter into my consciousness was you'd have a thing called a news flash. So the news flash came up on RTE television, I suppose. And of course ITV would have been covering it as well. This was the single biggest loss of life in the Troubles, the so-called Troubles, which were, as you probably know, the trouble that went on from 1969 up the north of Ireland, and of course it spilled into the south, as we're about to find out, up until about 1998, was it something like that? So we lived in a military barracks because my father was an officer in the Irish Defence Forces. A very historic house. I've mentioned it before. I won't bore you with it again, but I do remember it being sunny. I remember it was one of those sunny, kind of summery afternoons. And the news started to come through on this. So it was big, where we're used to bombs going up in Belfast and up the north, but we weren't used to anything down here. The panic was kind of breaking out. I missed one of those bombs. We finished school at 4 o'clock, so the bomb went off between 5 and 6 or something. I would have walked by close enough to the maybe the Talbot Street one and the Parnell Street one, but I would have been more on O'Connell Street, if any of you Dubliners know what I'm talking about. So I would have been in the vicinity, but I don't think I would have been killed. But I would have walked by probably as those cars were parked up. Another one went off around Trinity College. And my late brother, God rest him, and you know what? The idealism of youth. He was only about 18 or 19 at the time. I do remember when the news got through to him, he was determined to go out and give blood. Because he'd been a blood donor. I remember, I'm going out to give blood. Fair play to him. He went out. The next I remember of it was, I'll back the truck up a little bit. Oh, don't want to use that term. But my friend, who actually phoned me tonight, my best friend in the whole world, Stephen, he would have walked by the Talbot Street one. He walked by it. So he could have been easily killed. Him and his brother walked by it. And the next I remember was coming into school on the Monday, and obviously there was loads in the newspaper, the kind of Sunday World, I think it was then. And I don't want to be crude, but I remember as a child you remember these things. And there was a baby blown up onto the roof. Now whether there was or not, I hope there wasn't. But I do remember somebody saying this, and it was there were kind of graphic descriptions of what the fire brigade had come across and stuff. So I remember that kind of frisson of event. It was an event. And a tragic one at that. My sales mentor, who would have been a good 20 years older than me then, but still a young man, he, years later, Joe Nolan, the late Joe Nolan, he got caught up in the Trinity, it was around Trinity College, kind of Nassau Street area, Leinster Street. He was blown off his feet. He was out selling, knocking doors. He told me, Marko, I was blown off my feet. So he was blown off his feet. And I think there was a lady or two killed in that one. That was the one I think it did the least, if you can call it the least damage. It was loss of life. I do remember that. And then years later, a late friend of mine, Dennis, won't name his second name, but he passed away a few years ago. Dennis was in sales as well. And one kind of thing that came out of that was one of the unfortunates that was killed that day was a French exchange student, or a little student who she was over. And I always remember he told me he named one of his daughters after her. And sure enough, I could see where the commemoration was yesterday, the monument, and I saw the name because I distinctly remember it. He had two girls, Kira, and one named after the late French student, Simone. They're my memories of the Dublin bombings. I came close, but my best friend Stephen, someone was looking after him that day. I think he walked right by that car. Anyway, memories, they come back. So there was possible collusion going on between certain intelligence agencies, shall we say, and the terrorists themselves. But let's not go there. Just remember the 34 people, including an unborn baby, who lost their lives that day. I cannot believe that was 50 years ago. And to be able to recall so much when I was 10, it was the whole thing. It was such a bright afternoon. I remember it. Like, I remember the sun in the barracks, the sun coming through the windows of this old front room we used to have. We would have been watching that thing on black and white television. Anyway, what did I do today? My wife attended a funeral up north of one of her best friends, and she was a friend of mine, and she's left 2 children behind her. She was only 60, and she had a diagnosis a couple of weeks ago, and she's no longer with us now. And I just texted my wife there a minute ago, said, how you doing? She says, I just can't get my head around it. And none of us can. And there's a lot of it around. I'm going to say no more. It was like, I think, if it was 2 months from diagnosis, that's it, you know. I'm still trying this. I'm picturing a relatively 60 these days, let's face it, is relatively young. So she was my age. And not a pick on her ever. Always ate healthily. And her 2 children and her husband. The girls are only in their late teens, early 20s. It is tragic, my friends. It's tragic. Cleaned the house top to bottom today. Got the car washed finally. I'm a lazy sod. We got a nice BMW just after my heart operation around, well, the same year, 2019. And you know, I'll wash this car every month. I said to my wife, I'll wash it every month. And it's a nice car with a lovely big, one of these big sunroofs on it. We held out for the sunroof. We waited a few months. We wanted the one with the sunroof. And on a day like today, it's worth it. My wife might text me any minute and I'll have to go because I'll have to collect her from the bus. But anyway, so yeah. And how many times did I get the car washed in those, 4 or 5 years? 5 years? 5.5 years? Once I recall going through a proper car wash like I did today. And by the way, if you ever go through those automated ones, be very careful that the cloths, make sure they're not those fiberglass ones, those kind of plasticky ones, because they will buff your metal. And do you ever see on a sunny day, you'll see a nice car with a beautiful metallic on it, but it's all ruined because you see all these little scratches on it. Anyway, I think it was just normal cloth. I thought I'd get the hand wash job done today, but I said, give me the most expensive one. The most expensive one was, the guy, the way he talks. He said, there's an automatic. So I went, right, give me the fucking one with the cherries on top, basically. So when I went, it was automatic, and I went, fuck, I want the one where the guy stands around and they polish it by hand and everything. And yet I paid top rate for it, 14 quid anyway. I was expecting, in the old days, you have a heater would come down and heat the car. Oh my God, the car wash, eh? So, it was washed. The car nearly fainted because it hadn't been washed properly. Now, I have one of these. I'm looking for it here. I can't see it. I have one of these things that I go around like a freaking, as if there's a pandemic breaking out, but it's shite. It's shite with a capital S. Then the other thing is, when I did hole up in the afternoon, I said, the wife's away, have the house kind of clean, have the car washed. A few glasses of wine last night, didn't go mad, did not get drunk. Watched The Boys from Brazil. The whole movie, Gregory Peck and James Mason. Denholm Elliott, who's always a fantastic actor. It was about all these Nazis holed up in Paraguay and Nazi hunters, but it was shite. It was kind of shite as well. Watched it was 2 hours something or other on it. Yeah, it definitely deserves a. Don't want to do a spoiler, but if you haven't seen it before, it was like they were creating mini Hitlers through cloning. 94 of them. And if you like Doberman or Doberman Pinschers, it's the movie for you. Wasn't a movie for Gregory Peck because he feels the brunt of the Doberman Pinscher, whatever they're called, dogs. It's worth looking at if you want to see. No, it's not. It's not worth looking at. So I was holed up this afternoon, and I'm watching this old thing, and it looks. When you see the I forget. Like the thumbnails on YouTube. So I have a smart television, so I often watch YouTube on television, and I've been ignoring this because I was always into radio, and as some of you probably know, I was on radio, and I also went as far back as the Pirates, so I was a kind of a schoolboy broadcaster, early 20s, mid 20s, that kind of thing. Late teens, I was on air at a very exciting time in Irish broadcasting because the Pirates had come out. So I was one of the Pirates, and I was actually with what was called a super pirate, the original one, which was called Sunshine 101. Then Nova came in and kind of stole its thunder. Now, those names still exist now. Just shows you how much imagination we have. But they're not. They bear no resemblance to the original entities that were Sunshine 101 and Nova. So I saw this thumbnail, and it looked so boring. And when I went into it, lo and behold, it was fantastic. It was, the funny thing is, I actually met the guy who wrote and produced it. I might have mentioned to you recently. I met him. I'd worked on a TV station. He ran. Do you really need to know this? You probably don't. Your eyes are glazing over. Okay. But I bumped into him only a few weeks ago outside the supermarket. And, he had done this program, I think, for RTE, because it was coming up to 100 years there. This is a good few years ago, of broadcasting. And all the original, some of the household names, some of the lesser known, but would be known in radio circles, all these wonderful talking head interviews. So I was in my element. And a big part of me was going, they stuck with it. You didn't. Like the last time I did radio was 2018. They stuck with it, Marko. They made careers out of it. You're 60 now. Nearly 61. You're fucked. Oh, it's not nice. It's not nice. I might just be able to, will I be able to grab defeat? Will I be able to grab victory from the jaws of defeat? You know, time is running out. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So look, I know it's probably much ado about nothing. Back the Eurovision. Oh God. Yes, we came. I'm glad we didn't win because the whole thing is degenerate. It's a race to the bottom in more ways than one. If you were looking at the English entry, then the guy that wins it is running around in the skirt. It has become. It's bollocks. Anyway, I'm going to be doing some serious goal setting in the next 24, 48 hours. I've finished just about an audiobook from a client. Thank God, it was dragging on and dragging on. Oh, we want to talk about UFOs sometime. No? Or will we talk about them? I'd like you to help me here. Get some content. You're not seeing much of me because I have no content to share. If you've got something you want to talk about, comments below. Or please, thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. I say it, but I'm wasting my sweetness on the desert air. thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. Get the ball rolling if you're getting any value out of these. Even if you're just looking at these and you've seen a few of them, you've come back for more, maybe like and subscribe. That kind of helps the old algorithm. If you could, yeah, just click it now while you think of it. Like and subscribe. It would be very, very welcome. Yes, I'm scraping at the bucket here, but sure, look, if these little homilies continue, I'll need some help. Maybe I'll sit down with ChatGPT and see if I can come up with some concept. But it's good seeing you. It was a beautiful summer's day, the 18th of May here in Dublin, Ireland. Not sure where it was in your neck of the woods. I think the UK, it's doing pretty well over there. And the States, yeah, my beautiful daughter, my eldest, she was in. She sent me pictures of a Paul McCartney photo exhibition she went to in New York. Sent me photos and all. Photos taken by Paul and Linda, probably in the heyday of the Beatles in the 60s. So that was nice because I'd taken her. There was one. Kind of, it was very small though, a David Bowie exhibition earlier this year. She loves David Bowie, or Bowie, whatever. I took her to that, but that was a bit of a disappointment. Now I think there was to be a part 2 to it, but we got to the part 1. Photos taken by a chap called Regan, I think, used to do all the Duran photos and many more. Yeah, he put that together earlier in the year. So I'm bouncing like a little ping pong ball. But so I'm saying there was earlier this year in Rathfarnham Castle, I would have mentioned it at the time, there was a David Bowie exhibition. Took my daughter to that. Wasn't the greatest. But she's over in New York now and seemed to have loved the Paul McCartney one. That's it, guys. That's it. By the way, in our world, I want to make this point. There's a lot of contentious stuff going on. Here in Ireland, it's not good. I'm not sure about your but in the Western world in general, I think. The only advice I'll give you is, if it really affects you, I mean, that so much so that it's occupying thought space, and you feel passionately about it, get out and man the barricades. Do something about it. Don't be bitching to your spouse or significant others, especially the ones that don't want to know and don't understand and want to do an ostrich head in the sand. I understand that. Anything for an easy life. It will pass. It does. The rubber duck always rights itself, I've seen throughout life. So, as I said, if you really feel exercised about these things, whatever it is, get out there and be proactive, an activist. But if you want to just bitch about it and drive yourself and those around you insane, just cut it out. I've learned to do that. I've learned now to say, right, I'm not prepared at my age and in my condition to go out. So, therefore I don't have a right to give out about stuff. So I'm just shutting up I'm getting on with setting some goals. I want to lose some weight. I want to concentrate on London if I can. I love London. And I don't know why. I've just got this call. London's calling. I feel I want to either go or work online with London. Maybe it's because I was watching The Apprentice recently. I've always loved the city. And if you said to me, New York, LA, or London, like I know things have changed in London. I get that. But I always got London. So maybe something might happen. But it's a goal, isn't it? Just, some kind of interaction with London. Oh, what a sad old person I am. I love you. Take care of yourself. Remember, good people are scarce, so do look after yourself. Get in touch. Thismuchistrue at protonmail.com. Give me something that's on your mind that we can discuss. If someone wants to guest or whatever, I'll phone you up. We'll talk. Which reminds me, if you're looking in, Nigel, I did check out the Alex Harvey today. The video you sent me, very, very good. I love that track, Faith Healer. I love the intro of it. Anybody else? If there was an album Nigel sent me a video about called Next by the late Alex Harvey of the Alex Harvey Band. They were of their time. But that track, Faith Healer, yeah. There's one called Gang Bang as well. Say no more. But it's quite funny. So I checked out a few of the tracks as well as looking at the video. So thank you for that, Nigel. Nigel and your missus. I don't know what you're drinking tonight. Maybe you're drinking the 19 Crimes. But I will be drinking some cheapo plunk anyway. Take care because I care, folks. I hope to hear from you. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Otherwise, we don't have a show.